Holmes was born. Then he got fat, bald, and tired. What's up, Holmes?
Beware your host, Jonathan Holmes.
Hi, everybody. I'm just letting Twitter know one last time that we're doing it. I'm going to type, "We're doing it!" exclamation point, and send. Edmund McMillan, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I should probably maybe, also tweet about it.
You can't tweet with monkey paw.
Yeah, I can't
I
look.
don't know how to tweet.
One sec. Let me get this mouse thing going. All right,
Are you
one sec.
wearing the Max t-shirt by Sam Keith?
Yeah, I think it's some sort of knockoff, because I'm pretty sure they didn't print those shirts.
I don't know. It was pretty popular on MTV for a little while.
Yeah,
Looks
me
great,
and Sam
though.
Keith are like this.
Really? Have you met him before?
I haven't met him in person yet, but he did paint me a painting, which was awesome. I can bring it in here and show you later.
Yeah, that would be
It's
fun.
it's like literally my prized possession.
I imagine he had a lot to do with my life when I was a youth as well.
Oh, he had a lot to do with everybody's life, and yeah, he's actually doing an art show in San Francisco next month.
That's awesome. Did I ever tell you about the one time I met him when I was 14?
No,
I will tell you the story briefly, and then we'll get to you because you're the star of the show. But Sam Keith stories, they're always
Open
good.
up about myself.
Yeah, I bet you have. So I was at a comic book convention at age 14. Had Sam Keith sign one of those Marvel Comics Presents issues with Wolverine.
Yeah.
I think a Hulk one. And I was like, "You're like the best artist ever." And he's like, "No, I'm not. I suck." I'm like, "No, you're so good. Look at the way you drew that tricep with the striations." He's like, "You'll never know how terrible I am. Thank you for your thank you for being kind to me. Goodbye." And that was it. And I'll never forget about Sam Keith showing me that some of the best artists ever sometimes think they're awful.
I think it's a normal thing. He's so good. Yeah, he's so good.
Do
Okay,
you
I've
ever
tweeted.
think you're awful, Edmund?
Oh yeah, no, I'm not a good artist at all. But that's like a reality though. That's not a Sam Keith thing.
That's
Like-
totally a Sam Keith thing.
No.
Are you
I,
kidding me?
Well, because I think it's mostly knowing that I could be a lot better at illustration and art in general if I would have actually spent more time, drawing. But I spent a lot of my time designing, so I'm spread a little thin, and I don't have much time to experiment. So you kind of just neglect certain aspects of what you do. And for the past 10 years, I've leaned on my art skills, but I haven't really tried to hone them as much as I've been honing my design skills. So I put more effort into thinking and exercising my design skills, and less effort moving outside of my comfort zone with my actual art skills. For quite a few years, I've said oh well, once I get sick with video games, I'll do another comic or something so I can work on my art skills and do drawings and stuff like that. But it just never happens.
Well, your art has changed as it services the design.
I mean, I'd like to think it gets little bit better because I'm drawing still, but it just doesn't move in the way that I'm happy with, and it always just gets the job done. No one ever says that Binding of Isaac or Meat Boy looks so good, or like that. No one ever says that. I'd like to make a game let people say that, but
They don't say that?
no.
I totally say that.
No, they don't say that. You don't say that. No one
I
says
say
that. no one ever says that. I've never been nominated for any art and anything. I'm just I get the job done. I'm fine with this. It's not even really a complaint. It's my art gets the job done, and I'm fine with that. It's not a big deal. It'd be nice if it was better, but realistically, I'm more interested in actual design and just theme and whatever else than the actual illustration part, because sometimes I tend to get bored really easily, and I just do the minimum, I do the minimum.
Well,
I'm not like a Phil Fish. I'm not going to work on something for 5 years and obsessively redo the art. I draw, you could even look at Isaac's head, the circle. That was like the first thing I ever drew was Isaac's head. That is not even remotely a good circle. Like, it has got, it's all fucked up. You look closely at it, it's like, it's oddly shaped, but the thing is I don't want it to have that feeling of meticulous, obsessive artist. It's just not something I'm into, and I lose inspiration when I obsess over something. I just like to get it done. I like to work fast.
Spit it out. That's what Charles Schultz did, and his art got better, and then he kind of plateaued until he got old, and his hand just got shaky, and those old peanut strips just kind of looked like scribbles. But they still had a charm, I think.
Yeah. No, they have a style. Like, either way, like, you kind of, people get used to your flaws, and it becomes your style. Like, your limitations totally become your style. I mean, I like to push it, though. Like, a lot of people say, like, oh, my games look the same. Like, I don't see how Meat Boy looks anything like Isaac, but people do say that. I guess maybe the cutscenes, because they're the same, kind of. But
a little bit. I don't know. I think you definitely have a style. There's things that you like the look of that just naturally come out in what you do. But in terms of what I feel when I look at Isaac versus Super Meat Boy, totally different.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, and people love that Binding of Isaac. Yeah, for people who don't know, you've been making video games for a while. You made Super Meat Boy with Tommy Refenes a while back. 2010 now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And that was kind of your Rock Lobster. It was like, whoa.
Yeah.
This is like nothing we've ever seen before. And then weirdly enough, you followed up Rock Lobster with a Love Shack.
Yeah,
Isaac just happened, and yeah, I'm sorry. Please speak to your Love Shack.
That was unexpected. I didn't think that would be my Love Shack. If I was more into the B-52s, I would have come up with a more obscure song to throw out there, but I don't. I do just know those two songs.
But I was worried for you and Tommy because it seemed like such a meteoric rise, and it was a wonderful thing. But I know how stressful it can be to have this big success and then wonder, like, how am I going to follow this up? And if you follow it up and it doesn't do as well, then you're like, oh, I guess I've lost it. I'm like a one-hit wonder. And then that totally didn't happen. You worked on a game for, what was it, 3 months? That you and Florian
actually 3 months. Yeah, for the initial release.
And you put it out there just thinking, we'll see how this does. And then Isaac did just as well as Meat Boy, or around the same?
Well, I mean, like, it's actually closing in at 2 million sales, which Meat Boy is as well, but Meat Boy is 3 times the price. So, I mean, if you want to gauge it on, profitability, then Meat Boy is 3 times more successful, but it's still like a really good number. Pretty amazing, especially the type of game it is, because when designing it, I'm designing it to not sell. Like, going in thinking like, this isn't gonna sell. I'm just gonna do something that I think is cool and seeing where it goes. I don't know, and I liked the risk reward involved in it. So in a way, like, I didn't see how, if there was going to be a risk reward, actually a reward for taking any kind of risk with creativity. But in this case, there was. So that's nice. We'll see if that happens again. Even with Mugenics and stuff, like, Tommy and I are taking a risk. We're making something that appears like a really casual game and could be marketed to as a casual game, but it's not at all a casual game. Like, it's a hardcore game in a lot of ways, and it's very odd thematically, and even content-wise, it's questionable. But I don't know. It's realistic. It's about cats. It's about real animals, and real animals do questionable things, and there's lots of poop. But yeah, I don't know. I think you got to push the envelope with everything, or it just kind of gets boring. We'll see how far I can push it, and what happens when things get pushed a little too far. Tommy and I have been mulling over an idea that feels dangerous for many different ways, and we've also been talking a lot about how frustrating it is to want to do something in a video game that's completely acceptable in something like an R-rated movie, and it basically being the biggest no-no in the world.
Wow, this
Which
is
is-
intriguing.
which is weird.
For people-
It's frustrating. It's like there's just certain things that you can do in music, certain things you can do in movies, certain things you can say and express yourself with that is just they're just big no-nos in games in general, and most of it is just like speaking in a way like you could never do a Quentin Tarantino style movie in a video game that touches on racism and has characters that are racist and say racist things and like just sexual and over the top like violent in different ways. There's just certain zones you just can't go into in video games because video games are still looked at as toys, kids' toys for the most part. And no publisher would ever want to get behind something like that. And it got me thinking about a lot of different things. It got me thinking about, we also talk about like what independence means at this point, like where the hell we are and where we fit in. And the title independent game, how it's thrown around like a, I guess like a brand. Like an indie game is a brand. And what does it mean now? And I think more or less a lot what indie games mean to me is they embody like complete freedom and pushing boundaries. And then I just kind of got thinking back to like Rockstar. Like Rockstar is kind of the epitome of what indie development is about. Like, and it's pretty amazing to think that such a large company had the balls to do something so risky so many times. It's very commendable. And I never really thought about it that much until now. But like games like Manhunt and Grand Theft Auto are like really fucking ballsy, really ballsy. And they got rewarded for taking that risk. And it'd be nice if more people took that risk too. But we're in a zone where it's just like, since the economy sucks, it's so risky too. You make a mistake like that really upsets people, and your whole company crumbles. So people don't want to.
But at the same time, people are taking those risks and they're paying off big time because there's a vacuum and people want to see that kind of risk taken. And you have a game like Hotline Miami, which a lot of people hadn't heard of those guys. They actually were on the show not that long ago, and they talked about how big of an influence Manhunt was, and kind of echoed a lot of the stuff you just said, which is interesting about Rockstar. And it's just blown up now. It's coming to consoles. People are excited about the sequel.
I didn't know that they got a console deal. That's awesome.
Yeah, Sony. And Sony is also showing that they want to fill that vacuum of games that are about actual things and are willing to take risks in potentially unsettling people or legitimately disturbing people with some content.
It's true. I can vouch for Sony where we kind of, Tommy and I, shopping around this basic idea to a few different places, and the only place that was like, we don't care what it is, we'll do it, was Sony.
Really?
It doesn't matter. Like, it can be as adult as you want to make it. We're interested.
Is this game 2 for
No,
TV?
I don't even know. We don't even know what it is yet. Like it's something small, and it's something that we have been just throwing back and forth for a while, and probably will jump into maybe after Mugenix. I don't know. It's just something on the horizon that's actually making us question like if we should be doing it, if we shouldn't be doing it, if we could ever sell something like this, and where we could sell it, and so on and so forth, or even if there'd be a market for it, or if we'd be shooting ourselves in the foot. But when you go into that like kind of danger zone, it's always a little inspiring because it makes you feel like you're doing something important. So who knows? I don't know. It could be like not even a big deal. I could be just totally overthinking it. Could be just like, oh yeah, whatever. And everybody's like fine with it, and it's not a big deal at all. But cross that bridge when we get to it. Right now, we gotta finish Mugenix.
Right. How far along are you into that?
It's really hard to say because it's a really weird game. Like design-wise, it's just the most complicated thing I've ever worked on. Like really complicated, and of course Tommy agrees. And it's one of those like games where on the surface level it looks very uncomplicated. It looks very easy, basic, game, but like what's going on behind the scenes and the simulations that are running are so in depth and like require so much balancing and just a lot of like intricacy that it's just hard to design. I don't know. There has to be so much content and so much going on for it to be where we want it to be. Kind of similar to Isaac. Like, so Isaac took 3 months though, but like with Isaac for the first 2.5 months, I thought the game was a piece of shit, and really it was. And like it was kind of like this critical mass thing where I kept having to add content because it just wasn't fun. And then finally got to this point where it was just completely full. And when it was that full, it started to like trick me in a way. And like when it was tricking me, then I knew it was special and I knew it wasn't dull. And it's just to that point. Like, so with Mugenics, there's all these super complicated systems happening that whenever we add something, everything breaks apart, and then we add little things over here, and then it comes back together again, and it's like, okay, I'm understanding now how the game's going to play, but let's add this. So in order to add this, the game breaks apart again, and then you add these little things and you put it in. And the thing with Mugenics is there are really just so many different things. Like there's the core game, which we've talked about, the whole cat breeding simulation thing, but that's just like that's the foundational element of what we're trying to do. Like there's just a bunch of other stuff that uses that. I don't know. Bunch of really nutty things. It's very hard to even pitch it because it has more to it than we kind of say. But there's just all these crazy systems, and the game's about like turns into this really deep, in-depth thing where you're trying to break apart the system that we have in place by manipulating things and manipulating time and space with these otherworldly trinkets that are spawned out of cat butts and so on.
What? Did you say that out loud? I'll tell you what my expectations for Mugenics are, and it'll be interesting to get your response to that. Seeing the game, I expect to get attached to a fake cat and feel like it's a real cat. Want to better my cat's life and to allow it to enjoy life and be able to survive. Take it into fights and get very, very sad when something terrible happens to the cat, and then want to get a new cat in order to fill the void of grief. I had a cat die on me when I was 9 or 10, and this has kind of been the cycle of my life with cats and everything since then. When I saw Mugenics, I immediately was like, I'm going to play out that cycle in my life with loving things and then having them die right away. How's my guess? Because that's just going off some cursory information I've gathered on the internet.
I mean, yeah, that is an element of the game. I think the beauty of Mugenics is that it will actually be different for each person depending on their personality type and how they want to play the game. Because there's lots of different things you can do. Like, you don't even have to fight. You don't have to do the cat fights at all. Like, you can play the game completely differently. You could be super nice and just take care of lots of cats and breed these cats and progress through the game, trying to breed nice cats and putting all the bad cats in your backyard, letting them run away, and that sort of thing, like keeping your house clean and so on. But yeah, I mean, there is that element though. Like, there's kind of a beauty in. Okay, I was talking to George Fan, the creator of Plants vs. Zombies, the other day in the mall, and I was talking to him about like realistic, like making like sacrifices and just like real things happening in video games that matter. And I was talking about Fire Emblem and how Fire Emblem has that cool element of hardcore mode where if you lose a character, you lose a character. But the sad aspect of that is when you lose a character, you just turn the system off, and then you restart from your last save. Mm-hmm. And it becomes it's little, that's the penalty, is that you have to wait 20 seconds before you play again because you lost a character. And it seems like, that sucks, but of course you don't want your character to die, so you do that. But imagine if hardcore mode, or if the game just didn't have any other option, like imagine if when your character died, it saved instantly. and you actually had that sort of like, oh shit, like there's a reality there that would be not, it'd be too hardcore for most, right? But the game itself would be so much more rewarding and so much more of a different game. It'd be so impactful and so meaningful to know. You'd play differently. You'd play very strictly. You'd question every move you do, and you'd be looking at all the other units to make sure that they couldn't get too close to hit your guy. Like, you wouldn't take risks, and it would be a real thing because you wouldn't want to lose your character that you've been working on for whatever. And I think, you know, as games as a whole, if they were to do something like that, I think we would move a little bit further. Like, it would just take a step forward. Of course, a game probably wouldn't sell a ton like it has if it was that hardcore. But I just feel like if you want to you got to experiment with this sort of stuff in order to really see. And with Mugenics, I mean, realistically, you have so many cats. Like, if you've got this cat that you've loved and tended to for forever, well, you want to breed them. I mean, you could hopefully breed a cat that looks a lot like him and acts a lot like him. And you could keep breeding until you get that perfect kitten, and then just keep focusing on that, and then just focus on the bloodline of the cat that you like the most. Because realistically, eventually the cat will die of old age. But if he's not breeding, like, he's just not fertile at all, or she, you could, you know, invest in her and buy her drugs for fertility to up that and try to get a cat that's more fertile with her, so on and so forth. Or if it's just not happening at all, or you don't have the money to do so, you could always just freeze her, and then hopefully maybe later in the game when you've unlocked more drugs, you can unfreeze her and then keep working on her again. Or just keep her in the cube and you just stare at her that way.
I didn't know there was cat freezing in your game.
Oh, that's like the foundation of the whole game. The whole game's progression involves, because the game ends, like, it's still a simulation where, like, there's an end to it. Like, the game will get progressively harder to tend to your animals. So you want to freeze your cat so the next game that you start, you can start with that cat.
Huh. And is there going to be that permanent death that you alluded to?
Yeah.
Is that not something? Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Like, insta-save dead cat.
Once you take the cat out of the cube, the cat is no longer in the cube. So, like, if you were to just turn off your game or whatever, then the cat wouldn't exist in the cube anymore. So it saves at that point, and it saves when the cat dies.
Right. Wow. It'll be really interesting. If it was EA, of course, they would microtransact your resurrection of cats. And
you don't even know. Me and Tommy talk about that, like, all the time. We're like, it would be nice to be like, at this point, we could be juicing you for money. Like, it was funny when we put out the first screenshots of the game, and it showed that, like, there was a money increment in the upper corner. The first thing people did on, like, a lot of touch sites that I read in comments was, oh, I see that they're going to probably do microtransactions. You're going to be paying for money. And it's like, no. No, no, we're not doing that. Like, that's horrible. Like, that is just the worst. That is the worst thing about video games right now. Like, those type of microtransactions are the worst thing about video games. And we talked about, like, if we were to do microtransactions, what would be the most responsible way? Like, who has done it in the most responsible? In a lot of ways, it's like Valve, like the hat system. That's probably the most responsible way to do things, where it's just like a social addition that you pay for. And, like, 'cause you don't need that. It doesn't give you an advantage. It just looks cool. Like, that's it. It's customizing your character for some money, and you don't need it. And it doesn't give you advantage. It doesn't, like, advance you in the game. But the idea of somebody actually paying for something that they could work for in the game, like if the goal is run in place for 15 minutes and you get a carrot, and that's like the achievement because it's hard to run in place for 15 minutes, and then you just tell the player, or you could just give me $5, I'll give you that carrot. It's like it's feeding off of the animal brain of everybody, of like, oh, but duh, I'm not stupid. I just want the carrot. Like, I'll pay. And then, especially, it like tricks them, and it's very similar to that whole, like, why would you want the small Coke when for 25 cents more you get the large? Mm-hmm. It's like that. Oh, I got the hole in this. Like, Why do I want to run in place for 15 minutes when I can just pay and get that end result? Not realizing that when it comes to games or anything you would want to achieve, if you remove working for it, it has no value. Like there's absolutely no value there. And like anybody who makes a game with that system, they are not game designers. They're like full on admitting that they can't make games, they can't make a compelling game, and they want to just throw away any aspect of reward for anything that they've been working on by making it so you can buy the end. Like, why don't you just like watch a movie? Just pay for a movie. They're better. They're better than all the stories in all the games. Like, just watch a movie.
It'll be interesting to see if it self-destruct on them, as it will. The amount of negative feelings they're generating, and like you said, people instinctually feel good about themselves if they feel like they cracked a hole in the system and found a way to win without having to work. But then once they figure out they've been ripped off, the amount of ill will you generate with the consumer is, once you find out that Coke will just kill you if you drink too much of it, then you're pissed, and then you go drink something else. So we'll see if that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, that's like with Mugenics. I hope that when we start doing interviews together and stuff and talking about development, that we will really push that, and so people listening would realize, because there are people who don't realize it yet. They don't realize they're being manipulated by business to just juice them for money for empty reward. They don't see it, and I think if we talk about it more and are critical about it more, that something will change. Which is another weird thing that's so odd. Like, I mean, I'm critical of things because I love video games. Mm-hmm. Like, and people say that me and Tommy are whiners, and we always complain about everything, and blah 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 blah, arrogant whiners, so on and so forth. And it always throws me because I feel like why, like I'm trying here, like I'm like I'm trying for the better of everybody. Like, it was just like with the Microsoft stuff when we talked about that. There were actually quite a few other developers who were like, "Dude, you just burn your bridge with Microsoft. Like, why would you do that?" And it's like, they burned their bridge with us. Like, have some fucking self-respect. Like, you're just gonna let people walk all over you? And they tell us like, "Oh, the same thing happened to us." It's like, and you didn't tell anybody? Like, you just let it happen? Like, you can't expect anything to change unless you say something. Like, if you don't like what's going on and you feel like there's this basic consensus between, like-minded people, you got to talk about it for anything to change. And if you're not willing to do that, you just sit on your hands. It's like, I don't know. It's weird.
For people who don't, maybe they haven't followed, and stop me if I'm getting any of this wrong, Super Meat Boy on Microsoft, some good people at Microsoft you worked with on that, some not so good. Then after it came out, you and Tommy of Team Meat, talked about how you didn't necessarily want to work with Microsoft again, and then more recently, I believe there was an interview where you talked about how Microsoft hasn't changed. Is that about right for the timeline?
Yeah, and it wasn't as much of like not wanting to work with Microsoft anymore, but more along the lines of, this is what happened to us without breaking NDA. This is what happened to us with Microsoft, and this is what you should look out as a developer for, and these are the mistakes that we made. Like, a lot of it was contract stuff, and never when Microsoft tells you, "Yeah, we'll give you this," you don't take it as you get in a contract. Anything they promise, you get in a contract, because they don't need to give you anything. They don't care. But and that was kind of the main problem of like killing ourselves for something that we didn't end up getting at all. But there's kind of, it's waxed and waned, and it all depends on whoever's in command at that time, because it's just a fucked up business thing where like business in itself is bad. Like, it's a crooked thing. Like, every aspect of business disregards humanity and abuses the flaws in people and kills them and doesn't care, just walks all over them to get money, they take the money and they run. And in business situations, you get some guy who's like, hey, I'm going to be, I've puffed myself up to this point, and I've got an idea to change how Xbox Live is, and from now on, no 2D games. That's my campaign, and I'm here. And then he's around for like 4 years and pushing his ideals on everybody, and then like at the end of that 4 or 5 year period, he gets his statistics together that are all incorrect because they're all bloated and don't make sense, and then he's like, see, look, we're up here, here, and here. Not because the games are good, but because this was my campaign of only 3D games, and then he ends up using that as leverage to go to another company where he's higher up, and then he leaves because he doesn't fucking care. Because number one, he doesn't care about games. He cares about money. He cares about moving up the ladder. He goes some other place where he can go do the same thing and fuck over that company. But in the end, he leaves this just devastation where it's just all this confusion and there's all these back and forths. And for a while, it did seem like Microsoft was trying to like at least clean up their image. That was an obvious thing. They were doing a lot of things like sponsoring the IGF and a bunch of other things publicly, where I know that they were asking a lot of developers to like talk positively about your experience with Microsoft. And the whole thing with that was like our experience with Microsoft until the very end, where we were fucked over, was very positive. We loved working with Microsoft Studios. They were really good guys. Like they've got some really good people who actually care about games in there. But the thing is those people are controlled by a bunch of people who don't care about games at all. They care about money. And it goes far beyond that. Like a lot of people are like, well, if you made them a lot of money, shouldn't they care about it or whatever else? And like, no, they don't. Like Microsoft has all the money in the world. They don't really care about that money. They care about global control money, and like they just want to make sure that they look like they have the most power. So the thing for them that's most valuable is getting exclusives and basically locking down different developers so they can't go anywhere else and do anything. They try to keep you down so you're just hungry enough to make sure that you don't want to say anything. You don't want to critique what they're doing, because then they could like banish you, and then how are you going to put food on the table? And there's just too many options that they can't pull that shit anymore. There are too many other directions that they can go, and it seemed like they were kind of like, okay, well we'll play nice here, but I don't know. Stuff I've been hearing recently, it just seems like the same old shit. Like, same old business. I don't give a fuck about your game. In the end, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of the muscling in, trying to get exclusivity, and we're Microsoft and play hardball and all that sort of stuff too. I'm still surprised to this day that we were able to get a month gap launch for PC. That was something that we had to fight for. Luckily, when we started development of Super Meat Boy, Steam wasn't as big as it is now, or was when we launched, so it wasn't as hard to leverage it. But I assume that it's probably pretty hard, and they're probably getting pretty competitive with Steam and PC in general. But at this point, PC outperforms Xbox by a lot.
Yeah, that's been a real shift from what I've been told. Used to be Xbox Live Arcade is where you wanted to go if you had an idea that was risky and small, but you wanted a chance of generating some money. Now everyone's just talking about Steam in terms of where the money could be. People are talking about Sony in terms of where the attitude is the best, and hearing some positive things about Nintendo as well.
Yeah.
When was it? Was it last year? I got more angry at Nintendo than you did about your game, and I'm still a little bit embarrassed about that, because I let my passions get away from me. But it was around Binding of Isaac. There was talk of it coming to 3DS. I believe you had said you thought, oh yeah, it would be ideal on the 3DS. So I was like, it's going to happen, and then it didn't happen. Reportedly having something to do with the religious content of the game. And I got really upset because I wanted better for video games, I wanted better for Nintendo, and I wanted better for you on all of those things. And I've actually talked to Nintendo recently about Binding of Isaac Rebirth, and they wouldn't comment either way about it. Do you think there's any chance it might come on a Nintendo thing?
There's always a chance. It's like, it's one of those situations where a good portion of Nintendo really loves Isaac and wants it. But then you gotta remember, like, you're dealing with a company that like went back and like removed chanting in the background of Zelda because it was reminiscent of, you know, a religious chant. So I think they're very particular on religion in general. And you gotta, I mean, it's hard to see it for what it is until you break it down in like an ESRB situation, because recently Tyrone is like asking me to list off the questionable material, like what's questionable about Isaac, and it's like I start thinking about the specifics of like, oh well, there's blood and guts and blah 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 blah, but then it's like it goes so far beyond that when it just goes into themes and it just goes into items and just all these different aspects of the game that just go beyond a rating system. Like there's no way I could list off all the things that would be questionable or mature themed in Isaac. Like it really does push the envelope into territory a lot of people aren't comfortable with backing, and that's understandable. Like I was excited when things looked like they were heading in the right direction with Nintendo, because I would want nothing more than to be on the 3DS, because I think it would be an ideal platform for it. I also love my 3DS, and I also want to be on Nintendo's console. Like that's the whole thing. Like doing Super Meat Boy on the Wii. Like one of the number one reasons to do that was simply to just say that we released on a Nintendo console. Like we released on the system that we grew up with, that like started us down this road. And I would love to be able to do that before I die. Like at least release a game on a Nintendo console. It is a little dream. Which is kind of how it transitioned in the Eurogamer interview into like, I would love to be, you know, have Meat Boy in Smash Brothers. That would be like the ultimate thing ever. And then it turned into us joking around that, and then everybody took it seriously. But
and what would be wrong? I was puzzled by the reaction. Like, how dare he think his character, who's in a game that sold 2 million units and is beloved by, you know, millions of people and was in a movie, and how dare he think his game deserved? Because it would make total sense to me.
But it's not about deserving. I don't think it deserves it. Like, I really don't. Of course I don't. It's just a dream. It's a wish. Like, the thing that was funny about that was the part that was cut out, and the way this whole thing started in the Eurogamer interview was it started with me saying, he says, is there anything you want to say before we go? And I said, oh, shit, yeah, actually, it's my birthday on the 2nd. It was on the 2nd. It's my birthday next week. And if you want to put this in there, if it comes out before my birthday, say, like, I want nothing more in the world. As a birthday gift to me, I want some evidence that Miyamoto knows that Super Meat Boy exists. Just acknowledge, I want him to acknowledge it existing. Just say the word Super Meat Boy, and it would make me more happy than anything in the world. That's where it all started from. So like that was my minimal thing, my minimal wish, my dream that it was already impossible. It wasn't going to happen, but that was the small part, and then it escalated into Meat Boy and Smash Brothers. Make it happen. Yeah, you know, we'll develop for your console and all that sort of stuff too. But you couldn't hear our voices, so it was taken a bit out of context. But yeah, like and honestly, part of like having a game on a Nintendo console, like I met Miyamoto once at GDC, and I don't think he understood anything I said. And I had just made Gish, and I was like trying to say, I made Gish. It's like he knows what the fuck Gish is. And I like gave him my card. And I was just like, oh my god! And I got a picture with him, and Daniel got a picture with him too. And yeah, I would love to talk to the guy. I would love to interact with him in any way. But at the smallest little thing, I would just love to know that he at least played one of my games. That would make me feel really good. Because I mean, he's the reason why I'm here. For sure.
Aw, pretty cute. I met Sakurai, the developer of Super Smash Brothers, once, and just terrified him. I was like, "You're great! Look, I'm wearing an Earthbound shirt. Earthbound? You like Earth?" And he's just like, it just like got out of there fast. It is hard to gush when you see the people you love.
Yeah, I ran into the Shadow of the Colossus guy at GDC too, and I think I scared him as well.
That's too bad.
I don't know what to say, and I feel bad for people too, because like right now I have to go through the awkward interaction with people like recognizing me like in a mall or something, and then saying, "Hey, didn't I see that indie game, the movie? Weren't you in that movie?" And then there's a kind of the awkward, like, I know that they want to say something and they want to interact with me, but they don't know what to say, and I don't know what to say, and we're just kind of standing there, and I kind of got to go, and it's like, what? And I totally understand that because I did the exact same damn thing to so many different people at GDC where I'm just like, hey, I like that game.
Yeah, it feels good though. I hope it feels good for you to know that people feel connected to you now on a level that they didn't maybe 5 years ago, or at least more people feel connected and are excited that you just exist, and they just want to stare at you like he's a real guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't say that it feels good. It just feels really odd. Like, it's not something that I ever wanted. Like, it would be nice to know that, like, I've inspired people, but it's weirder when it's in a movie and people are like, I saw this movie you were in and I really liked it. And it's like, well, I didn't have anything to do with making it. I don't know. It's much easier for me to take a compliment about a game that I made than a movie I was in, because I don't like people complimenting me, because I'm not just some dude. Like there's nothing special about me, but I like to feel that there's might be some special aspects of the things that I make. I guess I don't put much value on myself as much as my work. But
Right.
it's just I just don't know how to take that sort of stuff too. It's just like, I'm not working on myself. Like, look at me. I don't really care. Like, it's just, I don't put much effort into this. Like, this is my personality. Like, I don't care if I'm a likable person, like, whatever. But I do put a lot of thought and effort into my work, so it's easier for me to be like, yeah, cool, thanks, I appreciate that. But it's weird when somebody comes up to you and just says, hey, I like you. I think you're cool in a movie, and it's like, I don't. And then it's like, so I question your taste.
Yeah, I can relate. As you might know, I was on a reality show when I was pretty young, when I was like 20. And from that point on, I was like, I'm going to actually make something that's indicative of what I'm like as a dude, or what I think about, or what I feel, instead of people just knowing me from some random reality show that was like a caricature of me.
What
But you can't
reality
fit
show
a
were
whole
you on?
I was on the Road Rules show in like
Oh, shit.
1999 or
I think I
2000.
remember you.
Yeah, we never talked
I
about
didn't
it.
know that. I didn't
No,
know
we
that.
never talked about it. I don't talk about it a ton. It's not often that it's related to much these days. But
Were you like, I mean, not to say you aren't now, but were you like beefier, like bigger?
I was less fat. The more fat you have, the less you look like you have muscles. So much less fat, big hair, less sleepy looking, more defined, less jowly. Yeah, it's a long time ago now. It was 14 years ago, I think, 15.
Oh yeah, then you get it then. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah?
I mean, I wish Tommy was on here. We should do another one with Tommy, or Tommy should probably get his own first, but then we could do a team.
Yeah, that would be awesome. He was on with Shannon like last year to talk about
Yeah.
romance.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
now
it
he's
was
got
about
stuff to
time.
talk about game-wise, so that would be
Yeah.
awesome. So
But yeah,
you
no,
were
Tommy's. Oh, sorry.
no, you.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah, Tommy and I, to some degree, I think everybody in the movie struggles with the idea of the caricature of who you are. Like, I lucked out because the caricature that I was pushed into in the movie, and the way that they cut me, didn't make me look that bad, which I'm very grateful for, because I said a lot of crazy things. Like, I was so sleep deprived. Like, I remember going on rants that they could have easily put in, but it had no context to the movie, that would have made me look like an insane asshole weirdo, because that's how I get sometimes. But for the most part, whenever they cut me, I was smiling and I seemed pretty happy. But the reality was, I was just like so overwhelmed by how horrible everything was. It was just laughable, and that's just kind of how I am. It's like, yeah, we're getting fucked. Like, yeah, what do you want? Like, I'd rather laugh it off than cry about it. Like, I couldn't. It's just not how I deal with things. Like, and on Tommy's side, like, even though he basically was in the same mode as me, laughing it off, they caught him at times where I think he came off a bit over the top. I mean, I don't think he came off that bad at all. But I know that I think he feels like he did, and I wish he didn't. But it's kind of like either way. Like you put us next to Phil Fish, and what the fuck? Oh, cats are running around. I don't know if you can see them in the webcam, but they're like hissing at each other and chasing.
Yeah. That's something I meant to talk about before when we were focused on Mugenics, but I didn't. Is Mugenics inspired by the cats that you've gotten in the past few years?
Oh, yeah. Tommy and I are both cat people, for sure, and we've grown up with lots of cats. And, yeah, when we were starting the game jam for Ludum Dare, the theme was evolution, but, like, one of the sub-themes was 100 cats or 1,000 cats or something. And we're like, oh, that'd be awesome, because we were always talking about our cats and their weird personalities. And as we started to develop it, we kind of bounced back ideas on, like, how can we make these cats have drastically different personalities, not just look different, but actually act different, and how could we do that? And came up with all these different systems that are very based on our cats. So, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I have 4, so.
Oh, I didn't know.
Where's Tammy? Tammy! No, that's Moxie. You want to come over here, Moxie? Moxie. Come here.
Does that cat fly? Is that a flying cat?
Yeah, she did. I caught her in the air. This is Moxie. She's one of the hairy cats. Moxie, look up here. Moxie, look up here. Look up here. Look at that. There she is. She's a tomboy. Kyle Gabler, the creator of World of Goo, actually found her like on the street in San Jose. She was being chased by a dog or something, and she was a kitten. And he took her in, but couldn't keep her with his other cats, and asked if we wanted to take her. And we came over and rescued her, basically. She was one of our 2 rescues. Guppy, wherever he is, was the first one, our first cat. And I could get him. You want me to get him?
Yeah, sure. Fun to see him in real life. He's going to be away for a little bit. Cat seeking. I hope you're enjoying the Joe so far. I sure am. This man is filled with words. That's what they call a talker, which is great for a talk show. Oh, he's back.
It's Guppy. Guppy, look up here. Guppy, up here. Guppy? No. No. Guppy, look. Look. There he is. Guppy.
That's a wholesome all-American cat. A little chubby, but I like him a bit chubby myself.
Yeah, well, he's old, too.
Yeah?
Yeah. Guppy! There he is.
And the 2 newer cats are hairless, is that right?
Yeah, well, one of them's hairless. Cricket! Cricket! I want Cricket and Tammy now! The only one that really, like, comes like a dog, though, is, well, that sounds weird, is Moxie, the one that I showed first.
Yeah, the flying one.
Yeah. I gotta show the hairless ones, because those are the weird ones.
Yes.
Where are you guys?
Let's take your time. During this intermission, I'll just say that this is actually only the second time I've ever talked with Edmund McMillan, verbally. We exchanged emails for many years, 2009 maybe, but in real life, this is only our second discussion, and he's back.
This is Cricket. Cricket's the baby. She's not really hairless, but her hair is stunted. You can see it looks like her. Stand up. So you can see her like belly is kind of hairless, but she's got hair all over her.
And how does she take to a rub down?
She loves it. She's the most affectionate of all the cats. Cricket, what are you doing? Oh, I think she's actually been stalking Moxie. She's the one that's been taking her.
You must see a lot of cat-on-cat interactions. Did that work into the game, or is that some of the multiple variables that you're having to play with there? For
sure. Like, yeah, we it's odd to be I mean, you don't see it, I don't think, if there's just one cat. You just kind of get their odd personalities. But when you've got 4 cats that all interact, their personalities are very drastically different. Very, very different. Here comes Guppy. So, yeah, Guppy's a weirdo. He's broken. He doesn't like people, except for us. Do you want to come up here? Do you want to come up here? No? No? Up here? And he, because he was when he was a kitten, before his eyes were even open, there he was like in a planter box, and I was an animal control officer, and we got a call. Come here. We got a call about a bunch of kittens in a planter box, and I went there, and it was a call for 8, and there were 9, and I knew that since the mom wasn't around and I couldn't catch the mom, they were going to have to put all the kittens down because they were too young. Mm-hmm. So I took them all to Danielle, and I'm like, here, choose one. It'll be our cat, and she chose Guppy. But Guppy's just so weird. He's so weird. He's got problems. But yeah, he doesn't like people, just likes us. He's not super fond of the other cats. And Moxie's the tomboy who wants to always try to get outside. Guppy's afraid of the outside. Very afraid. He got accidentally locked out of our apartment once for multiple hours, and we came home and he was just smashed against the door going, he didn't know what to do, and he had peed. He got so scared he peed on the ground.
Aww.
I know, he's a little, he's gone through trauma or something. I don't know. He doesn't understand what's going on. But then Cricket's the lovey one that'll like be super affectionate and jump on everybody, and then Tammy, who I don't even know where she is. She's the prissy little bitch, and she was the one in Indie Game the Movie who's completely hairless. And she acts how she looks. Like, she's very privileged. She only wants alone time. Like, you have no other cats can be in the room, or she'll get very upset about it and leave. You want to go? Okay, go.
Are you going to get your actual cats in eugenics?
Well, the way the random generation works, there's a possibility of generating cats that look like them. But no, not specifically. There are. Oh wow, they're fighting. Yeah, there are so many. There's an infinite number of cats at this point. Like, so you can't. Yeah.
People would want to get your real cat though, like to be able to download it for free later or something, just to
like a specific one. I don't know. Yeah. That's not how the game kind of works though. Yeah. You'll see.
Yeah.
It'll make sense of why we couldn't do specific cats. Kind of. You'll see.
And before I forget, Ridiculon, they're on the soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
That was a change of pace. How did that whole thing happen?
They are the soundtrack.
Yes.
They're amazing. They are quite amazing. The soundtrack is actually finished. They finished the soundtrack. I should say the tracks are finished. They're not mastered yet, but they basically finished the soundtrack last week. And I can tell you how many tracks it is. It's quite a lot. Eugenics.
I'm going to guess 13.
You're going to guess 13.
More than that?
There are 32.
What?
They're not all... So, like, some of them are background loops for specific things.
Mm-hmm.
But they are good. So... I believe 22 of them they actually have lyrics, and then the rest are without.
That's so many. Did you have that in mind from the start, that you wanted to be like
I think the initial was
concept album?
Yeah. The initial was like I wanted to do a Katamari type album because I really liked that, and I thought it seemed appropriate for the theme, like a bunch of cat themed songs, yeah, I just thought it would be really cool. And when I contacted him, Ridiculon is composed of 2 dudes, Matthias Bossi and John Evans. And Matthias was in a band called Sleepytime Gorilla Museum, which is like an indie band. They're really, really good. And they were really good live. They broke up recently, or not broke up, but retired. And I would always go to their shows, and it's one of those things where you try to, like, I always want to interact with the musicians in some way because I don't know, want to talk about making art or whatever, and I'd always talk to him, and his wife was the violinist for that band and one of the singers, And I talk to them and be like, hey, I make games, and I know this doesn't cross over with you at all, but you guys are inspiring, and so on and so forth. And a long time ago, I made a game called Triachnid, and the music that I used for it was music that she had made with another band called I forget what they were called. The album was called Book of Silk, but whatever. And Tin Hat Trio, that's what they were called. And I used it for the game, and I really liked it. And then years and years later, when I'm working on Isaac, I find out that Sleepy Time, they've retired. They did their last show that I was actually sick and couldn't go to. And I saw that Matthias had put up a website where he was kind of doing some contract work. And I'm like, oh shit! Like, can you do voiceover stuff? Because I need kind of a narrator's voice for Isaac. And he's like, oh, I could do that. And I sent him the dialogue, and he did that. And so that was the first time we interacted. And then with Mugenics, when we were talking to Danny about, because initially we were talking to Danny about the soundtrack, and we are like, I don't know, like I want to do songs with lyrics. Like I want to do like more traditional songs, like a jukebox or something. And how do we do that? And it just didn't seem like it would work with Danny. It seemed like if we did it with Danny, a lot of the songs would be like meow meow related and digitized stuff, and it just I don't know, it just didn't feel like that worked that way, because like the theme we were going with was like 30s 40s cartoon, like black and white cartoon, and I wanted it to have some kind of that feel, like big band or like jazzy type stuff. And you need real instruments in order for that stuff to sound good, like real horns and stuff. And so I contacted Matthias and said, hey, like, what do you need budget-wise for something like this? And he was really interested in the project, and him and John got together. And John, I believe, is the bassist for Tori Amos. He's been on like all of her albums. And they got together and busted this shit out. It's been really, really good, like really good. It's the best album for any game I've ever heard.
Wow.
I know that's like weird to say because I'm working on it, but like I didn't make this music, so I can say that.
Yeah, absolutely can say that. And it is a perfect fit from what I can tell this feels like the most organic game you've made. It's got like a fleshy weirdness to it that's made more palatable by the fact that the style is very clean, and it doesn't make me feel like I've got like genetics on me when I look at it. But at the same time, I see like a two-headed cat, and that's gross. But it's black and white art, and it's just lines. It's clean and cute. And their music is kind of the same. It's got a organic singing, can be very gruff, but at the same time, it
ranges.
Yeah,
there's like a crazy range, like a lot of different singers. Because like I can't even remember what we've shown. We've shown a snippet of Cat Fight, the intro theme, and Declawed. That's what we did.
Yeah, Declawed is the one I remember it being really like in the
that's that guy's voice. He did 3 of the songs on here. There's let me see if I can. One sec. So there's also some. I love this singer too. So she sings on 2 songs.
I can hear your voice.
So this will play when rain starts falling.
This is not what people expected from Team Meat, I don't think.
It gets really cool. It'll transition.
Together in my way.
Yeah, it's good. I think people are going to really like the album.
Yeah, it's going to... People who would have never played the game will hear the album through those circles and be like, I guess I should see what this game is about. And it's going to be... Is it confirmed for iPad and iPhone?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. No, we don't know iPhone yet because we actually have to see if like your fingers can interact with the cats enough. If it's annoying, then we just won't bother. But like, it'll definitely be on iPad, and definitely be on PC, and that's all we have confirmed right now.
But
It's
other
a
things
cursor.
could-
It's a cursor-based game, so you know.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. I get there's two questions. We have so many questions. I don't want to ignore them, but there's two others I had real quick before we move on to them. One, any status update on Super Meat Boy, the game, which I believe last I heard about it in any depth was last April? Does that
Yeah,
sound
at that
right?
point, it just right to Mutagenics pause, and it's exactly where. I mean, I've been thinking about it. I've actually worked design-wise on paper and stuff. I've been designing bosses and characters, and I'm very happy with the character design and the overall look of the game. Like, again, it's like it looks lazy. Another developer friend of mine actually commented on some of the screenshots and said it looks lazy, and it does. But that's kind of like in a way it's charming in its laziness. It'll look very simple and it'll look very fluffy. But I'll spend some more time on it and make it not look as lazy. But
It's just a Sam Keith said like the exact same thing. He's like, I'm lazy. I need to practice my anatomy more and be like Bernie Wrightson. I'm so sorry. I'm like, no! Show me who you are, Sam goddamn Keith. I don't want to see...
the thing that I realized too, and like I think all artists fall into this, where we're all striving to emulate something. And like you said, like Sam Keith has this guy in mind that he wishes he could do an anime like, and so on and so forth. And there are multiple different artists that I grew up with that inspired me that I'm nowhere close to, and I'm trying to get to. And style comes from limitation, I think, where I'm trying to get here, but all I can do is here. But if I do it enough, that's my style. And there's a lot of really strong styles. I think like you look at like Dan Paladin, like Castle Crashers and stuff like that. He's got such a strong style, and I think his style also comes from limitation. Like everything comes from limitation, and that's how you develop like a really solid style where it's like, well, I got to design around my limitations.
But
That's
trying
kind
to
of
push your
what-
limitations, I guess, is how you keep yourself interested.
I'd see limitations more. Well, me maybe, but yeah, limitations more of just like I don't, I just can't. I mean, I would love to be able to realistically paint things. Like, I would love to be a really good technical artist, but maybe you're right. Like, I could probably get there if I really put all my time and effort into it, but I'm too lazy. Like, I'm too lazy to do it. Like, I'd rather put my time into something else, and I just don't want it that much. I just don't. I don't want to be that good that much. I feel like I'm good, almost good enough. I should be better, but I'm almost there. I don't know.
I'm grateful that you. Because it would be wonderful if you could just magically start painting realistically, but then you wouldn't be putting all that time into making all these video games that look perfect as far as I'm concerned. I wouldn't change the visual style for the world, though I do like the 16-bit look of Rebirth quite a bit. I think that's coming.
Oh, I
along.
do too.
How is that coming? We haven't talked about that too much. How's that coming along? Anything?
It's coming along well. Like it's been really really fun to work with the artists. It also feels kind of cool to be a director. Like I've never been in this kind of role where I'm just pulling strings and approving things and saying no this, no that. I mean, I know I'm not an easy guy to work with, and I can be a control freak. I'm a design Nazi to a degree. So when it comes to a lot of things, I'm going to be very anal about. And when we started the Rebirth art stuff, and then we were going back and forth for the first month or two, a lot of the artists kept just basically kind of, they wanted to keep it as true to the original as possible. And it looked just like you took my sprite and like put a filter on it and it made it pixelated. And it's like, no, like, and I just told them, like, listen, I'm not that good. Like, and I know you're really skilled at pixel art. Like, this is what you do. You guys are just visual artists, and that's what you do for a living. Like, that's your skill that you've worked on for a long time. So what I want you to do is basically take my rough idea, and I want you to just redo it in this style. And a few of the artists are really good and like have really taken that and like really gone far with it and made some really cool re-envisionings that look very similar to my stuff, but still look like they're this new style and embody this new style. And it's been really cool to see. I'm a big fan of people drawing my characters and seeing like different spins on my work. I was always, in like the back of comics like Punisher or even like the Max and stuff, like sometimes there'd be like a section of different people, different artists redoing the characters in different styles. I always loved that. I always thought, oh, cool, one day maybe I'll be good enough where people actually care and they would, draw my characters in their style. And this was kind of like that, where it's cool to see, and I want them to do more of it. And they're really far. Like we're at a point now where they're animating what they have, and basically 90%, 95% of the old content has been overhauled art-wise. So nothing's going on programming-wise yet. They're just getting all the art assets done, and they're starting to work on the new content, what there's a lot of. So they're working on like tons of new bosses, and which is pretty cool because like basically what I send them are these really, really rough sketches with some basic color matching and saying like, this is what he looks like, here's some exaggerated movement frames, and interpret that as you will and make something cool, and go back and forth a few times, and they come out pretty awesome. And I really want to go above and beyond. Like my goal with Rebirth is to make it so every single person who put hundreds of hours into Isaac will put 100 hours into this game and feel satisfied with new content from the moment they start. And I just want to go a lot further than before. And I want to fix all the problems that I can't fix anymore. Like it's to the point now where I can't do much. Like we hit a wall with even the Linux version where like we don't have a functional build of the original. So the problem with the Linux build would be the Linux version would be the basic game plus Wrath of the Lamb, so whatever the latest version is. And the Wrath of the Lamb expansion makes the game harder, and ideally I wouldn't want you to put it. I would want you to beat Mom's Heart at least once before you added the expansion on, and a lot of people are playing the game with it on, and if every Linux person started the game with that, it just doesn't represent what I want people to play. Mm-hmm. And we looked into trying to find out a way to remove that version, and we can't, and we looked at trying to find a way to just do it in the main game to like turn off the expansion, and we can't do that either. And it's just to the point now where every time we open up the FLA crashes or it becomes corrupted, and we have to do this crazy thing where we have to make a new folder, save the FLA in that new folder in order to even publish it, because there's some bizarre broken things with how big the files. It's the most bloated giant file in the world. And we can't do anything with it anymore, and it sucks.
Is there a record for biggest Flash game? Do you know? Maybe you've hit it? Could be.
Possibly. Definitely the biggest Flash game that's like in one file. The whole issue is that Florian, we had to work around his limitations, and we didn't know how big this game was going to be. It pains me when people are like very critical of what's going on with the game. Like I put it out for $5 because number one, I knew that a lot of people were, I didn't think a lot of people were going to play it, so I wanted to put the barrier of entry really low. But also just because it's a Flash game. Like, you can't get away from that fact, and Flash games, especially ones made in AS2, are going to have some issues. And hopefully the price tag and just the fact that, we try our best to fix the game as much as possible will get people to understand. But, people are people, so they'll see.
They feel passions, and they're on the internet, where it's fun to be passionate. Yeah, so it works for them to be mad, but they're still loving your stuff, whether they want to say it out loud or not.
It's really weird to get emails and stuff that are like, I put in 200 hours in Isaac, and I can't believe you won't fix this room that you can get stuck in, and you should fix it. And if you don't fix it, you don't care about your fan base, and so on and so forth. She's like, delete.
Yeah, what do you do with that? It's terrible that they feel that way, but what can you really do? I
don't believe they do feel that way. I don't believe anybody on the internet feels the way that they claim that they feel. They're fucking liars. They don't care. Like, there's the people like, that'll like be up in arms about something that seems so insignificant, and they act so, oh man, feel my passion, look at how much I hate. And like the reality is they're just sitting there. It's just like when somebody says LOL or something, right? And you know that they're not laughing. They don't fucking care. It's exactly the same way. It's like someone's writing, "You motherfucker, I'll kill you all," but he's doing it in a way like, I feel so passionate about the way women are represented in video games, and blah 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 blah. You know, when the reality is they don't really fucking care. Like,
Yeah, it's just something.
I will never buy another Team Meat game because they didn't put it on WiiWare. I hate them. They are horrible people. Those people they don't fucking care. They just want to talk. They want attention. It's all.
I think of the internet as a giant text adventure game. And just like you don't really want to punch a hooker in the face and take her money in GTA, you don't mean half the stuff, or a lot of people don't mean half the stuff they say on the internet. I have to mean it because it's my actual name and I work for a website, so I'm accountable. But for most people, it's just a place to explore stuff that they might half feel. But see, how's it going to be if I actually do this? And then what's going to happen? And I could go on about that. I've been talking to you for so long and having such a good time of it. I'm ignoring these questions. I feel like a dink. I still have a couple of things I want to make sure I ask you, but before I do, I will get to the questions from the people watching the show. Sermon asks, I've given up on 100%ing Isaac, but I haven't given up on Super Meat Boy. What compelled you to make the very last achievements so impossible in PC? I suppose he means Super Meat Boy PC. That's the only.
Oh, the achievements, because we don't think that people should be getting all of them. Those achievements are made for people who can get them. Because I'm not OCD, so I don't feel compelled to get every single achievement and everything. Like those achievements in Super Meat Boy are very, very, very hard. Like I would suggest you don't give up on Isaac, because at least the roll of the dice might give you the achievement at some point. Like you might just get lucky and do it. With Meat Boy, you have nothing to do with luck. It's hard. Like
you're just not physically. You're not going to win a gold medal either. Probably.
Oh yeah, all the Dark Boy, like all the boy achievements for the Dark World are. Dude, I'm not getting those achievements. I think the farthest I've gotten on the Iron Man achievements was just Salt Factory. I don't think I can even beat Hell without dying.
Yeah, it takes a physical dexterity and a connection between mind and body that just some human beings aren't going to have.
Yeah, not every achievement should be achieved by everyone. Confucius say.
Right, and you should be okay with that. You should think you don't need those achievements to be a complete human being who truly enjoyed a video game.
You're not good enough of a human being. It's an example of like, I failed. Failure. Every time that you see that you don't have that achievement, you just realize that you're going nowhere.
That's the thing about achievements. They do make some people feel like they actually are better people for having them. So when then they don't get them, they feel like they're actually worse people, and they won't stop playing the game until they prove that they deserve to exist by getting that Super Meat Boy achievement. It's interesting.
There are times where I feel like sometimes achievements and certain things are irresponsibly added, because I do get a lot of email from people who have obsessive compulsive disorder who are like literally begging for removal of certain things because they can't get them and it bothers them so much. Like they just can't fucking deal with it.
Yeah, I've been meaning to write about how much I dislike achievements personally for a while. Maybe I'll add that to the thing. But I should go on with more questions. Dr. Derp388 asks, Edmund, will Mugenics make me feel like I want to protect the cats?
If that's how you are as a person, you want to protect cats, then yeah.
So there'll be opportunities to feel like it matters what you do in order for the cats to be safe from harm.
Yeah, it really depends on the kind of cats you want. Like if it's we're working on a system right now where the cat's actions in a way stat pad and train. So like if you have a cat that's aggressive, like it's much easier to talk about the horrible things in the game than it is to talk about like lovey nice things. But of course you could just put a bunch of lovey nice cats together that just rub against each other and hump all day long, and like they just breed happy cats and so on and so forth. But you could also, generate a cat that's very aggressive, and then want to stat pad and let him beat up other cats. And because you don't want him to beat up other cats to the point of them dying, because then if they die, then that's a penalty on you. But if your cat's, if you've got some weak cat that is just going to get knocked around by this other cat, and you lock them in the same room together, then the one cat is going to gain some experience by doing so. So it's however you want to play it. Like it's interesting.
Yeah,
because I want people to be able to play. Like if you want to play it nice, you can totally play it nice, and like don't take in stray cats, or if you take in a stray cat, make sure you give it the vaccines it needs before you put it in another room with more other cats, in case it might have some sort of virus that it can give to your other cats, or might be aggressive, or if you find a raccoon, don't bring it in the house unless you want all your cats to die.
The raccoons in the game?
Maybe.
Wow, that was a hot reveal. But it does really sound like you made a game that, after you've played it, if you feel like self-reflecting, you can get to know stuff about yourself you might not have noticed in what you end up choosing to do.
Yeah, Tommy did comment on that when I was constantly throwing my cats at the walls and at the ground because I was trying to test hit points. So I don't recommend doing that.
Yeah. Osif
will end.
Oh, what's that?
Your game will definitely end if you just decide to throw your cats at the walls.
Well, that's good to punish people for that. I'm glad you didn't reward them for cat torture. If you had to work on a licensed project, asks Osifer Krat, if you had to work on a licensed project involving any existing IP from video games, films, TV, what would it be, and what would the game be like? I meant to ask you right off the bat if you would ever make a Leprechaun game, because it's St. Patrick's Day, but we'll run with his question instead of mine, because it's better.
Well, I want to talk about the Leprechaun. Just fun fact. So obviously I'm a Mick. My dad's Irish, and he's a little Irish man, and he eventually got remarried to a woman who was also Irish. And in their wedding, they actually had their boots had the belt buckles, the gold belt buckles on them. It was out of control.
Oh,
it was a very traditional Irish family. They're all born again, but back in the day, my mom would always talk about they would traditionally they would get drunk and they would sing. They all had really good singing voices, though.
Do you have a good singing voice? Do you like to sing?
I do like to sing. I don't know if I have a good singing voice, though.
You probably wouldn't be a good judge.
I've sang multiple songs karaoke style in the background whenever Danielle's doing Twitch streams of Isaac or something. I'll randomly pop in and do some hound dog. What was the question though?
The question was if there's any other intellectual property. If you could choose any intellectual property, and you don't have to do the most, because that's very hard to kind of narrow it down in your head. But just off the top of your head, is there any intellectual property?
No, there is.
Yeah.
The Mega Man. I would do a Mega Man. I really would like to do a Mega Man. I'll probably end up doing a Mega Man type game with Tommy eventually. The design has been written down on paper. I mean, there's tons of designs on papers all around me, but that's something I want to do. I want to do a Mega Man style game based around Dr. Fetus. Is something I would really like to do. It was something I think we were thinking about doing before Meat Boy the game, but I don't know. We'll see. Who knows? Gotta ride that wave, the wave of inspiration. But yeah, if I could control any IP, I would do Mega Man. I would like to do a Mega Man game. When it comes to anything other than that, I don't know.
You don't have to say anything more. I don't know if you saw my jaw dropping. I tried to keep it up. Thinking about you making a Mega Man, because Mega Man's one of my all-time favorite series, and one of the things I love about it is he's so vulnerable, but he's so lovable just from off the bat. And then from there, how you play is so determined by your personality, and you get to know yourself in the process. And that's how all your frickin' games are, too. I look at those cute little bastards, and I'm sure they're going to get murdered, and I feel so inherently protective of them, and then through the process of playing, I get to understand what I'm afraid of and what I feel confident about, and feel like I've grown and experienced stuff. Maybe that's overthinking Mega Man, but that's how I've always thought of it. So you would be perfect.
I
to
just
make
like the
Mega Man.
robots.
You would be great at the Mega Man. I hope that Capcom lets you do it, though. I'm sure it would be difficult, what with
I would
Japanese.
It would be like Butt Man and Booger Man and probably like Pee Pee Man. And yeah. Oh, speaking of which, I don't know if you saw. I tweeted recently. So Andy Hull Andy Hull is the programmer for Spelunky. Andy Hull, Derek Yu, George Fan, creator of Plants vs Zombies, Laura Shigihara, who's the musician, Kyle Pulver. He did Offspring, Fling, and Snapshot.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Tommy. So Andy roped us into this. So we all play Magic, and a lot, and we all draft. I don't know if you play Magic or even know what drafting is in Magic.
A little bit, but we should explain it for the viewers, just in case.
Magic is a card game. If you don't know what it is, I'm not going to explain it because this won't matter to you. Just turn it off. Turn it off at this point. But drafting Magic is essentially you have a pack of 15 cards. You go through the pack and you choose a card out of it, and then you pass the rest of the cards in a table of 8 people around the table, and it keeps going around, and then it goes the other way, and then it goes the other way. So you have 45 cards, and you're trying to draft a deck of 23 cards. So you're trying to like synergize and strategize of like, okay, is this guy taking blue? Is this guy taking blue? Like, are they going to be passing more cards to me? And how do these cards synergize? It's a very, very, very fun and very addicting way to play Magic, and it's very fair. Like, the thing about Magic, I think that turns off a lot of people is like usually the rich kid's going to be the kid's going to beat you because he's going to have all the good cards. But in this format, like, it's a very leveled playing field, and there's a new modified format to it called cube drafting, and a cube is essentially a set of 360 plus cards that a person puts together that could be any cards from any set, and you basically make a set of Magic cards that could be of any power level, and you balance it out, and it's fun because it's like a creative project. You balance it out, make this cube, and then you sit down and you draft it, and that's like your cube. That's what you play with. And what Andy suggested is that we make a 360 cube with a theme around indie games. And so we spent about a week brainstorming 45 cards plus each, and coming up with some really, really crazy stuff. And it's very, very fun, and hopefully we'll put a spoiler up, I think, by GDC. The idea is that we'll actually like print out sticker things, stick it on Magic cards, and actually play it at GDC with other people. And then I think it'll be pretty cool. But how it ties into Pee-Pee and Poo-Poo characters is my Planeswalker generates poop. Like, it generates little poop creatures, and then it's inspired by the poop, and it draws cards equal to the number of poop creatures in play. It also, I think it throws boogers as well. It's pretty good.
That is very good.
I'm underselling it, though. I probably shouldn't have pitched that card as like the card, because my card's not even that good, but it's flavorful. And people ask, why the poop? Why do you draw cards, number of poops in play? And I'm like, because it gives me an idea for a game. Like Mega Man, Buttman.
Kyle Pulver has been coming up in conversation a lot. He actually lives with last week's guest on the show. I think they live together, or at least they hang out quite a bit. That's Aaron Robinson.
Oh yeah, they definitely hang out. They're all in like the same area. I always see pictures of them like doing athletic things.
I know, they're all fit.
They're like they're jumping through the air, and there's like, chua! Or they're like climbing on a rock.
Yeah, smiling the whole time. How do you smile while you're exercising? It's terrible.
I don't know. I'm usually miserable. It's like I'm sneezing and sweaty, and it's hot.
Yeah, it's the worst. I can't figure out why people like it. Crackety Jones 88 asks, how many cats is too many cats?
5 cats is too many cats. According to Danielle, it's not. According to Danielle, that's the ideal amount of cats. But I clearly remember saying that 3 cats was too many cats, and her saying 4 cats would be the best. I stand by the fact that the only way another cat is appearing in this goddamn house is if another cat disappears. So I'm sticking to my guns here. Technically, both me and her are allergic to cats. We have a lot of like air purifiers and stuff running in the house, and 2 of the cats are mostly hairless. So it's not a huge deal, but yeah, no.
Yeah, 5
Danielle
cats.
wants, Danielle of course wants more. I cannot bend to like. So for the past 2 games, the reward for Danielle has been a cat. It with Tammy, with Super Meat Boy it was Tammy, and with Binding of Isaac she got Cricket, and I just can't continue that, even though it seems so appropriate for this one.
Well, this game is a cat, or it's a bunch of cats, so maybe that will be enough.
Yeah, that's what I'll tell her.
Yeah, tell her I said that. Helios asks, will there be min-maxing in eugenics? I think I know what that means.
Min-maxing?
Min-maxing. It's got to do with stats, I think.
Min-maxing? Is he talking about like the soft caps that I put on stats?
Yeah, I think so.
If he is like, I don't know. So I had to do that because you get too overpowered if I don't. It's a balancing issue. So once you max your stats, it does soft padding, so you can still go beyond the max, but it's like diminishing returns with each stat booster that you get after. That has to be that way, or you will become far too strong. And just like it already happens often in a lot of games where you just become so OP. And I tried my best to balance that, and I don't want to make it impossible to do. I don't want to make it impossible for you to have a broken build that you're just so powerful you're just going to blow through the game, because that's what people like. Like they like the possibility of that happening. But originally, when I had no max stats, that was around Tommy. So Tommy was here through development, and he helped playtest. He was like the #1 playtester, and that's the first thing that he found was like if you don't cap that like damage up or rate of fire up, it gets obscene. Like it just goes way too far. And now that people know how to break the game in so many different ways, no, it's gotta have a cap.
That makes sense. Yeah. It's like old Street Fighter. I don't know if you played much of that, but at the first they didn't make it so each hit did less damage in a combo. So if you do like a 6-hit combo, you just kill the guy, but then after a while they staggered it, so by the 3rd hit you're only doing half damage, and then by like the 12th hit you're just doing little lines of damage, and it's just fun. But it's still fun to just see how far you can push it, even if you're not killing the guy. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Next, Nexus is asking a good question that I should have asked about the whole game industry. What is your opinion on the Steam box? I don't know if you've been following it, but it's a PC built for TV, backed by Valve. $1,000 is the first model they're talking about.
It's hard for me not to just say whatever. If they're doing it, it's probably a good idea because they seem to be the ones that are doing. And it'll be nice to see, somebody else break into the console market. They have the money to do it, so might as well experiment and see. But it's I go by the fact that I like to see the finished product, and I like to see how people take to something before I would invest in something like that. I mean, with Steam it might be a little easier because if it's like, well, it's just a Linux, PC or whatever, and if you've got a Linux version of a game, then it'll just automatically play on it. Then that would be easy to do if we had Linux versions of whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm personally not excited because I've got a computer.
I'm excited for people to be playing games on Steam that they might not normally play, like your games. There's a whole audience where right now the console penetration, if you will, for your stuff is pretty limited, but with Steam that could open it up to a lot of people that would potentially love it, just like how iPhone and iPad opened up the doors for a lot of people who would have normally not gotten to that audience. So that's what I'm hopeful about. But $1,000, that's not going to change too much at that price. Hopefully they'll get cheaper.
Yeah, I don't know. It's always been frustrating to me. Like, I remember 10 years ago when I hooked my computer up to my television and never looked back. I never understood why people don't do that. Like, everybody who's listening at this point, I mean, unless, you're a young kid and you've got your laptop, and you like to be alone in your room or whatever. But, like, if you live in your own house, there is absolutely no reason for you not to have a little media computer hooked up to your television. It saves you money. Like,
Yeah,
I haven't had cable in forever. Like, but I still see those shows, and at this point, like Hulu and Netflix and everything, like, come on. Like, come on. There's no reason for you to pay for all that bullshit now. Like, just watch the stuff that you want to watch. I don't know. It's to the point now where it seems so primitive to think that someone has to, like, stay up to at a certain time to watch the show that comes on at that time, and then they can't, like, see it again. I guess people can, like, record and they have all that sort of stuff, like the direct.
People are afraid of. I won't start a Reddit profile. I'm just like, that's a weird world that makes.
I won't either.
Old. That makes me feel better. I was getting teased about that earlier. They're talking about that cartoon I worked on, Teenage Pokemon, on Reddit, and I won't go on to talk about it. That reminds me of something real quick I wanted to tell you. Thank you for letting me use the Binding of Isaac poster in an episode of that show. And
I never gave you permission!
and weirdly enough,
You son of a bitch! You'll hear from my lawyer.
I had to be worried about that. There was, I knew you wouldn't, I didn't get the sense you would mind unless you really didn't like the show, which would have been okay, but Machinima, who puts that show out, was really cautious about me breaking copyright and them getting sued for it because they technically own it. But in the comments,
You're parodying Pokemon. Like,
well, that's different. That's like Mad Magazine. But but in the comments, everyone was like, "Oh, PewDiePie! This is like PewDiePie now because there's a there's this PewDiePie. Do you know about him? You should know. I'll tell you briefly. He is a Let's Play expert, and his videos get millions of views. And for a while, he was using Binding of Isaac art as kind of his in a lot of his videos. I guess some of his horror videos, and he has millions and millions of fans who think that Binding of Isaac, they don't even know it's a game. They're just like, oh, it's PewDiePie. Wonder how he's doing today. See that thing.
So he has it like as his icon, or had it as his icon or something?
I think in some of the videos, yeah. I think he played Isaac, and then people bought Isaac because he played it, because they just, anything this guy plays.
Oh, for sure.
Too.
Well, one of the reasons why Isaac is where it's at is, number one reason why Isaac's where it's at is purely Let's Players. Like, purely.
Really?
Yeah. I guess I just happened to make the perfect game at the perfect time. Like, it's a perfect storm situation where, like, Twitch and everything was getting big, and then I make this game that could be played infinitely, that people like to watch, and tons of Let's Players. Oh my God! Like, there are guys out there like like Man vs. Game and Northern Lion. Like, these guys, and Zach Scott. Like, these guys have like hundreds and hundreds of Let's Plays. Like, some of them are like on 300 Let's Plays and stuff. There was one guy who did, I think it was called Cobalt Streak. He would do challenges, and it was like he would try to see how many times he could consistently beat the game without dying, and he was up past like 200 something once. Wow! And he did it all like live. Like, it was, I don't know, it's nuts. People are crazy.
And it's this whole new thing where people want to watch other people play video games instead of playing them themselves, and there's a whole different type of game that they want to watch, like you said, like Minecraft. People don't want to play Minecraft, but they want to watch other people play it. And Isaac, and this new game coming out from Clay Entertainment called Don't Starve, seems like it's perfect for that audience. But it's very hard for me to get a grasp on this whole watching people play a video game instead of actually playing it. It's very weird to me.
I think a lot of it is a social hangout too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's more of like, what I've noticed is it's more of like a BBS type, message board system that the like people, because Danielle does it. So Danielle streams, and that's what it kind of becomes. Like she has a rapport with a lot of the people that are in the chat, and she does talk back and forth, and then they talk back and forth, and it just becomes more of like a little club.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just like a little club that gets together and watches video games. It is strange. It's strange to think that people would care about any video game being played.
Well,
it's like
better than sports. I mean, at least there's something interesting going on idea-wise instead of just the ball getting thrown to the man, and then the man has the ball now instead of the other man. At least stuff happens in the video game. So I guess if people like sports, Let's Plays sort of make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I could see like competitive stuff, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's nice. I mean, I would not. Yeah, I appreciate it very, very much. I appreciate it a lot.
And before I say something negative about Let's Plays now, Don Cairo asks, can you talk about the success of Binding of Isaac on... Oh, you just did that! On Twitch, and the role the casual gamers on Twitch have on the success. Oh, and we got to get going. Oh, we are over time. We are over time a little bit. Thank you for preemptively asking that question, Don Cairo. Before we go, I don't know how to phrase this question right, but I'm so interested in what you think. We talked a little bit about Microsoft. We talked a little bit about Nintendo. But just what you think about the game industry in general, and with the press. You've talked a little bit about the press and how frustrating we can be in general. But what do you just make of the whole climate, if you want to break it down between Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, and the press? How would you rate them? How are they doing?
It's tired. It's all tired. It's tired. Like at this point, I don't care anymore. Like at this point, I just want to make games because that's what makes me happy, and I don't want to have to worry about any of this stuff. Like it's a clusterfuck. We've come to a head where like it's just an inchworm, like just inching forward. Like the tech doesn't even matter that much anymore, and that we're on this like edge of like, okay, we need to go full digital or not, and that's where we are. Like it's like, okay, like, ooh, crazy prediction. I'm going to predict the future. All the new consoles that come out are going to mostly focus on basically a computer you hook up to your television, and you're going to get to watch, you're going to get to browse the internet on your television, and blah, 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 blah. And then, like, you're going to be able to talk to people via webcam on your television. And the focus is going to be, like, from games will, of course, be pulled back just a little bit because of this. But I'm just thankful that they're getting away from the goddamn fucking peripheral bullshit that we went through for the past, 7 years or whatever. Because that didn't help the video games at all. But yeah, all in all, I don't care. I can give a fuck. I don't care anymore. I just want to make games. I want to make fun games. I want to play fun games. I just want to enjoy myself and hopefully help other people enjoy themselves too. And I don't really care much about the business end, so put Meat Boy in Smash Brothers, or I swear to fucking God, I'll kill everyone at Nintendo. Put that on the headline.
It stinks. I feel like you've been punished sometimes for speaking your mind, and I just genuinely like what you have to say. I'm super interested in it, but I also don't blame you for being like, ugh.
I don't care. I don't care. Like, if I cared, like, if I put any effort into really caring that much, I would just be a horrible person either way. But it's just like, it's all understandable. It all makes sense. Like, it's not hard to just go through and be like, okay, the reason why you sensationalize this headline and then, play the game of telephone with every other place is because you're trying to make a buck. It's fine. Whatever. It sucks that the person who originally did the research and the work, gets as much of that buck, if not more. Like, I've seen some that's like, oh, it's this great article or whatever else, and then they take this one little snippet of something that Tommy or I said, and then that becomes a headline on Kotaku that gets like bazillions of views. And it's like, so this guy did all this work, and he was doing it in a really respectful, good way, and he did it right. And then somebody just like poaches it and sensationalizes it and takes stuff out of context just so they can get a really buzzy headline. and that becomes the news that eventually that's the story that gets poached, repoached, and everywhere else. I've seen it happen a lot.
Sure.
And it's to the point where I know that when we get emails asking like, hey, you want to come on a podcast, you want to do an interview, they're like looking for us to say something fucking crazy, I guess. I don't even think we say anything crazy. Like, what's the news? What's news? Business people are fucking horrible people. They want money over everything. Every industry in the world focuses on business wants you dead, but first wants your money. Simple. Like, it's just sick. Like, everything is essentially cigarettes. Everything. Like, including any industry you look at. Every single fucking industry. The sex industry, the food industry, alcohol, drugs in general, like the medical industry, video games, TV, movies. Every single person who works and tries to make money off of this is trying to find ways to manipulate you into losing your life and throwing your money away, addicting you, removing everything else, like everything. It's all based on addiction, manipulation, and preying on the fact that we are animals, and for monetary gain, and so they can die, and then their kids can be spoiled assholes.
This makes me feel so much better about my world, and the fact that I try very hard to not actually get paid for most things I do, or I just don't think about it. Like, there's money accumulating somewhere, but I'm just, as long as I can eat and have a roof over my head.
Do you see how horrible the logic is of, like, if you work in some like cookie factory, right? And you're the guy who's like, your job to make the cookie better. Okay, now better, right? Doesn't mean it tastes better. Better means how addicting can you make this cookie, right? And in order to make the cookie addicting, you need to fill it full of a bunch of stuff that is not at all good for anybody's body. So you pump it full of all that stuff to make it really addicting, so people want to eat more and more and more. Or you even put stuff in it that's like, what's the new kick? Oh, people want low-calorie stuff? Okay, we'll just fill it full of this stuff that we know is not good at all for the human body, but we're going to fill it full of that so we can sell it. It's totally okay to sell it, but people will eat it, and then they know that they're making people fat. Like, they know that they're making people addicted, they're making people fat, but they want that. They want these people to suffer so they can get a few extra bucks, and they don't ever question it at all. Like, it's all based around, how can we manipulate these idiots into doing what we want so we can get money from them? And there's just, it's one of the reasons why I think people had such a hard time arguing video games as art, because when there's a business involved, business has absolutely nothing to do with art. It's totally the opposite end of the spectrum. Art's on the way over here. And when the two inch close together, like with games, and there's a bunch of manipulation, marketing, and marketing research, and different ways to like get your money and stuff like that, it blurs that line, and it's hard for people to see it as art, because for the most part, you make money off of art as that's the after effect of doing something that's hopefully good. Business is involved of manipulating people in order to get their money. You want to get their money.
So business wants to make junk food. The artist hopefully wants to make something that has some substance to it, and video games has been a junk food industry for at least for a bit. I wish we could talk more, but the man who makes the show happen is in the background. He's saying we gotta stop it.
Okay.
Sinistar. They should follow you on Twitter, though, Edmund. I think at Edmund McMillan on Twitter. Is that
sure. Edmund. Actually, I think it's Edmund McMillan and with an N. Or just search my name, you probably find me. But like Edmund McMillan, because I got hacked by some assholes who hated me a while ago, and I eventually got my Twitter back. I gave up on it for a while, but when I got it back, somebody else had camped my name.
Oh, wow. Yeah. You've got people, you've made an impact on people, and the people who love you so much, as they should. And the people who think they know you and hate you for something, man, they're crazed at times.
They're misinformed. It's just misinformation. And I totally understand and totally forgive them because they're just being misinformed by some stupid people who are trying to make money by sensationalizing things.
Mm.
It's just the way it works. But
Yeah.
I will say, last thing, that I really do appreciate the fans out there who stick up for me and Tommy and actually will say, what you're saying is incorrect. They didn't say that. This actually happened. And there are a lot of people who do that, and we really, really appreciate it because it does help. It especially helps if we happen to be stupid enough to look through comments because, I'm pretty calloused and I don't look at comments for the most part. But when I'm working on something new, I do want to gauge some sort of reaction. And I'll read comments, and sometimes it's just like, fuck, whatever. My art sucks, and I suck. I'm a fat faggot, and so on and so forth. But it's like, but there's always like that can be a downer. But then if somebody were to say something like, it's something in our defense, or not even in defensive, more of just truthful, like they didn't say that, it makes me feel a lot better. Gives me some hope for humanity, because for the most part, don't have much hope.
Yeah, but there are some people out there that legitimately get it and legitimately like you, as they should. I sure do.
Well,
Glad you're on
they
the
don't,
show.
I don't think people should like me.
I do.
I would like it if they liked my work. But I don't. It's funny when people are like, well, I breed people. Some people seem to hate you. It's like, well, yeah, dude. Like, I wouldn't be everybody's friend. Like, I'm not going to be liked by everybody. Realistically, like, I'm a person, and I'm going to have things that I like that people don't like, and
Sure.
opinions that people don't like. But I wouldn't be a fan of myself if I
I am such a fan. It's frustrating because I think you're pretty neat, frankly. If I may be frank, Edmund.
I appreciate it. I think you're quite well.
Oh, thanks. That's fine.
I appreciate your creativity and your honesty. You're a good guy, and you're good at what you do.
I don't think so. Thanks. I guess we'll wrap up the show, both not liking ourselves very much. So long, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.